Hey, everybody, welcome back to I Know a Guy. I'm Anthony, and this is the podcast where connections thrive. Each episode, we spotlight inspiring entrepreneurs, professionals, and individuals doing amazing things. Together, we'll grow your circle, spark collaborations, and discover new opportunities. Today, we're meeting Derrick Chevalier, a negotiation expert and author of the Amazon #1 bestseller, Evolve or Be Slaughtered, Negotiation for the 21st Century. With years of experience under the mentorship of Dr. Chester Carras, Derrick now helps businesses, professionals, and organizations, including the U.S. military, master negotiation strategies for success. How are you doing today, Derrick?
I'm doing great, and thanks so much for having me on. I love your show, and I'm listening to episodes, so I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
I appreciate it. You're doing awesome things. I've never met anybody that does what you do, and it's super interesting. I think more people need to hear about it because we need it, right?
Yeah,
We
we
negotiate every single day with
every single day. Yeah,
other people, just at work, for your job, for your business, with your kids, whatever. It's all a negotiation. So,
it's all a
uh,
negotiation.
so to get to know you a little bit, where are you calling in from? Where are you located?
Well, I'm in the Los Angeles area, about 10 miles due north of downtown Los Angeles in Glendale, California.
Okay. Well, there's obviously a lot of stuff that you can do there, but if you have friends coming in the town that have never been, what are you doing and where are you going for dinner?
You know what? The thing about Los Angeles that is unusual is that there are 100 cities in Los Angeles. Like literally, you can go to an area that is reflective of almost any place in the U.S. So it depends on their interest. Just from my house, you can literally be in the ski area in about 40 minutes. You can be in the beach in 20-25 minutes. You can be in a mountain walk in about 10 minutes. So it just depends on the time of year and what the interests are. I mean, I think the thing about California is the things that many people come to see are in a lot of times disappointing for people. Like you're going to go to Hollywood, it's like, wait a second, where are the stars? Well, they're not there, right? Or if they are, you're going to walk right past them and not even know it, right? So, but there's many other areas. I love the beach, Manhattan Beach. You gotta go there, or you got to go down to Santa Monica and walk the boulevard down there. That's iconic. Muscle Beach and downtown Disneyland or is not that far. And then we have Universal City, which is probably 15 minutes from where I am.
Okay. Well, what about types of food? I know you have all the restaurants and all the food that you could ever want, but like what genre is your go-to? I'm going out with friends. We're going to go eat this kind.
Do you know what? I'm a cook. And
Okay.
so if there's food, I'm going. And I love the saying, I can eat anywhere on the hog. So whatever somebody's interested or feels like eating, if they're adventurous, but I like Asian, we eat a lot of Middle Eastern food. I love Mexican food, Midwest food, like hearty food in the winters, and soups and stews and that sort of thing. But I love to cook fish, and it's all about the spices, right? Same fish, different spice, and a different experience.
Absolutely. No, yeah, I love that answer because then it kind of leaves it up to whoever's coming. Like what sounds good to you? I'm not picky. Right? Here's what I'd recommend for that. There's the 5 best restaurants. Pick one.
Yeah,
So, yeah, I like
yeah,
that. So,
yeah, and it depends a lot on the environment that you want to be in, and also on what day of the week. Because if you're coming in on the weekend and you want to go someplace good, well, then it's an hour and a half wait. If we know we're going to go before, then you can get a reservation and get in. But I really like, because I've traveled all over the world and all over the United States and Canada, and it's difficult for me to go someplace and not find something really delicious and really interesting to do. This country is so amazing, and it's really an incredible blessing to have an opportunity to live in a country like this where we have everything, really.
absolutely. Couldn't agree more. What can you tell us about what you do?
Well, how much time have you got on this? At the end of the day, I think the greatest skill that I have is an ability to listen to circumstances, and to provide people based upon their objective, their personality and background, specific action steps that are going to produce a measurable result. So that's what I do as a consultant. And I think it's the most valuable thing that I can do because it provides people with an action that connects whatever the theory is behind that to a result. And then people, when they see the result, are more interested in the process of why those things and why that way. So I think that's an important part of what I do.
Okay. Well, how'd you get started with this? What was that journey like? Is this something you've always wanted to do, or was it a happy accident?
Yes and no. What I knew at about 14 was that I wanted to go to law school. I literally woke up one day and I told my mom, like, I'm going to law school. So all of my preparation was for law school, meaning political science, pre-law. I participated in theater and debate, and then later went on to get degrees in political science, pre-law, and theater arts because I thought, well, courtroom is a performance, right? And along the way, I to law school, I ended up meeting my first wife and moving to rural Washington, 110 miles away from a university with a law school. So I started my career teaching and was focused in learning processes. I ran a school, high school, that was a preparatory high school housed within the university. And then through that journey, I ended up in high-end sales and then real estate and mortgage brokering and business. And then on my way back to law school, I happened to meet my mentor, Dr. Chester Karras, who is to this day the number one negotiation training organization on planet Earth. They do live in-house and public workshops all over the world. And the moment I came into contact with Dr. Karras, and he was looking for people to facilitate his program, I go, this is what I'm born for, because it combined the education, it combined the acting, because often teaching is edutainment, right? To keep it interesting. And so I became passionate about the entire subject of negotiation because it touched so many areas that I'm interested in.
Okay, I got you. So, you obviously, like you said, you're passionate about all of it. But what in particular really stands out when you're thinking about this is my favorite part?
I think my favorite part is an ability to discern um, and focus on the intentions of the person I'm interacting with, which is juxtaposed to the way negotiation has been, because I stayed with Dr. Karras about 14 or 15 years. And one of the things I realized was that so much of the content was content that had been, he's certainly a pioneer, but a lot of the content is content based upon ideologies that are decades and in some cases centuries old. So I started to look at negotiation from the standpoint of what has lasted and then what needs to be impacted by the fact that we have technologies today that didn't exist when Dr. Karras started, didn't exist when Getting to Yes was written. So that's what the interest was for me, just an ability to look at a specific set of circumstances and then associate human behavior to that and then create a strategy that's designed to, in many cases, create an opportunity or an outcome that neither of myself or the person I'm interacting with thought that was possible.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because, negotiation's been around since people could talk to one another, right? Probably even
Right.
before when we were just grunting and pointing, right? There's still that
Absolutely. From
level.
from the beginning, I mean, man, I mean, if you read the Bible, Cain and Abel, that's pretty quick. That's pretty quick. And what happened in the Garden of Eden? I mean, a little bit of a negotiation. Don't do this, and then yeah, you can do it, right? That was a negotiation, right? Because they could have said like, no. You
Mhm.
know, right? But the entire world from that perspective changed, right? And the interesting thing is, if you go all the way back, I was fascinated by Greek mythology and a lot of that, which led me to philosophy and Socrates and all that. And if you look around, many people don't realize our educational system to this day is built on the insight of Socrates, as he describes in his book, The Republic, right? And so a lot of our curriculum and the subjects that we study are there. And then, of course, one of his students, Aristotle, went on to mathematics and algebra and all of that. And certainly the Egyptians and lots of other people were contributing to that body of knowledge from the day one, right?
Mhm. Absolutely. No, and I like what you said too. There's been the things that have come up and then kind of died off because they don't work. But then the core of it that's lasted, there's something to that. But then also you're looking at through the lens of today as opposed to, back when the Garden of Eden, they didn't have the internet,
Sure.
right? Changes
Sure.
negotiation.
That's a perfect example about when either the big books that are out there, if you look, Never Split the Difference, Getting to Yes, Dr. Karas's book, The Negotiation Game, and many other related books, they did not have Zoom. They were not on the internet. They didn't have cell phones that fit in the palm of your hand. They didn't have business and what we call a global integrated evolving economy, right, where things are moving at the speed of light. So obviously, negotiating versus email versus in person versus on the phone are all very, very different, uh, um, uh, require different modalities, different strategies, and require different parts of our instrument, being our body, right?
Absolutely. What does the average client for you look like, or what are the pain points that somebody might be going through that if they're dealing with X, Y, or Z, you're the person that they should be talking to?
Well, you bring up a great point because throughout negotiation and throughout the business community today, there are tons of people that are focused on pain points. Well, snuff negotiation is going to say to you, well, that's only half. If we're only focused on the pain points, we're missing everybody who would be more motivated by the benefits of what a solution will. So many people say, well, what are your pain points? Well, yeah, but I may be talking to somebody who is frightened and shut down by the pain, and by their perceptions about their situation, but who is enthusiastic and ready to go if they believe that they can reach a benefit that is greater than that pain. So one of the key differences in snuff negotiation is that before we decide what that strategy is, one of the things we're going to figure out is, am I talking to someone who is motivated by the pain point or motivated by the benefits of a potential outcome? That's fundamentally different, and it creates a much wider set of opportunities.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You're not just fixing a negative; you can enhance a positive. Do
Right,
you want to make more money? Right? That's
right,
like you're making good money. You could be
right.
better.
Right. So it makes a lot of sense because all the research does say, and if you look at our commercials, right, they're all focused on problems, right? And then here's your problem and here's the solution. You take a pill, you do this, you do that, and you have a solution. So we know that people are generally motivated more by pain than by joy or happiness, right? But we're now 50 years into an evolved economy and an evolved world. And so people have been inundated by a focus on their pain. So it makes sense that to some degree, people are a little bit numbed by that pain, right? And so now you have somebody coming up and say, well, how about, we focus on how great it's going to be when we maybe can't remove the pain, but we could neutralize it by creating results that are greater than the pain that you experience. Well, obviously, many people are going to be more interested in that than they are in pursuing the pain.
Absolutely. What about power partners? What are other professionals or industries out there that you synergize really well with what you're doing and what they're doing, or where you find a lot of collaboration working with?
Right. So in this way, negotiation is like chess. So I describe to people that whatever the group or individual I'm working with, I look at that as a chessboard. Is it glass? Is it wood? Is it cement? Then I look at the shape of the pieces, right? Because they're all going to be a king, a queen, and rook, but they could be in a Roman style, in a Chinese style, Japanese style, Asian style, all different kinds. So it doesn't really matter about the industry that we're talking. It's still a chessboard. There's a king, a queen, a rook on all of those. Now, where does it differ? Because there are plenty of books that align chess with negotiation, for instance, right? But the thing that they don't point out is this: chess hasn't changed in 1400 years, right? There's only been one change. And the difference is that in chess and in every organization and every business sector, we all know if we're playing chess, the moves of every piece on the board are predictable because there's this common set of rules that we're playing by. Now, that's where snuff negotiation departs. Because when you're negotiating with human beings on one organization, just because somebody's a CFO or a CEO, that doesn't mean they're the decision maker. That person may be being influenced by somebody who is their secretary or their wife or a manager or by some other set of variables. And that's the difference. So, what we're looking at whenever I'm working with somebody is to understand. We start with the board, we start with who the players on that board are, and then we start to discover what are the limitations of each of those players in each of those situations. Because once we understand that, again, then we can apply strategies, tactics, and techniques to get an outcome. So I'm excited by that process. And I'm excited by bringing to people the idea that, hey, you're a senior VP, but it may very well be that the negotiation outcome has to satisfy your CEO. So we're going to need a different strategy to satisfy the CEO than we would if we are looking to satisfy your goals or needs. So if you apply that to any situation, you're going to see that, oh, I need to make shifts in my intent and in my focus and in therefore the strategy that I put together.
What advice would you give to a new or aspiring entrepreneur?
That's a great question, and I have a great answer for you. Buy my book. That's step number one. Now, the step number one is to actually buy the book, but if not my book, somebody's book. The problem today is that, first of all, people buy books, they buy programs, they buy different modalities, or experiences, and then they don't do anything with it. So the buying a book does not create by osmosis knowledge, right? So we've got to choose some area and then focus and begin to master some of the rudiments of that era. That's the biggest mistake that people make. And I know that because I've literally asked millions of people in the polls that we've done, but thousands of people face to face and one on one. What fundamental negotiation framework do you use in your business? Now, I can tell you 1 in 100 times will somebody have any kind of a coherent answer to that question. Just go, well, I have a lot of experience. Well, experience is not skill and it's not knowledge, right? Also, I said, no, what's the foundational framework that you're basing your strategy or negotiations on? Well, I've been doing this for 20 years. Or I was in a class 15 years ago. My next question will always be, what were the 3 things that you took away from that experience that are the foundation of what you're doing today? Again, don't really remember. That was so long ago. Well, there's your trouble. Because if you have a book or you went to a class, but you did nothing to take that information and raise it to a level of knowledge, then it's not going to do you a lot of good.
Absolutely. Books are cheat codes if you use them right. Right? They're going to give you an advantage. There's a reason that people, that are successful read
Right.
voraciously.
Yes, yes. Yeah, and not only that, but one of the greatest books, when you talk about reading, one of the greatest books that you can read is How to Read a Book by Mortimer Adler. Now, if you don't even want to read the book, just look it up. It's a 500-page book that literally teaches what's happening in the brain when we're reading different subjects and depending upon our own background and how we learn. So you don't read science the same way you read a novel, and you don't read a novel the same way that you might read a technical manual. So there's a different process that helps us, again, take information to knowledge. We in snuff we use an acronym called ICSER, which means we help people take information to knowledge, knowledge to skill, skill to expertise, expertise to action, action to result. Without that process, you're not going to see the return on the investment of your time or energy.
Absolutely. So, how can professionals master negotiation to achieve better business deals?
Absolutely. First of all, follow ICSER. The first thing is to make a decision about a framework, a rule, or a tenet that you want to pursue. Learn it like the ABCs. 2 plus 2 is 4. When you know that rule or that tenet or that behavior as well as you know the ABCs, that's step 1, because we've now taken that data and put it into our knowledge base so that we have access to it on demand, right? That's number 1. The second thing is to put that knowledge into action, put it into practice, and to have some kind of measurable outcome that you're looking for so that you can go back and say, this was the rule that I was looking at. This was the action that I took. And now I'm going to compare the outcome or the result to the action and that rule or step that I was taking. And then repeat.
Absolutely. How can effective negotiation strategies help businesses grow and succeed?
Yeah, well, it can certainly help businesses grow, but it help everybody grow in this sense. There are 2 things. From a business standpoint, if you can increase your revenue because your salespeople are closing more business by talking to fewer people and resolving any issues in that deal more quickly, that adds time, which means you can do more deals. And if you're doing the deals at a higher profit, then you're going to be more successful. Conversely, today, it costs a lot of money to put somebody out and have them work as a sales professional. So, conversely, I find that business today is driven by success in procurement. That is, if I spend less money, if my savings are greater, and I'm getting the same materials and the same opportunities and out goods and services, then obviously every penny that I save goes to my bottom line, to it becomes profit. So negotiation do that. But I can give you an example. I have a very close friend who was hiring just the other day an HVAC contractor, and she got a quote, I looked at the quote and I said, well, there's a problem. She said, what it is it? I said, there's no detail to the quote. I said, go back and ask them to separate the labor and the materials cost. And they came back and said, well, we can't really do that. We use a dynamic quantitative process to come. Well, if you use the quantitative process, then you know what the difference is in the materials and the labor. Why don't they want to share that? Because there's a ton of profit in it. Long story short, skeptical though she was, she got another quote. And then she got a third quote. Now, in the third quote was a good deal of money, you know, but she went back and we talked, she went back, she had a conversation with them. And at the end of that, within the space of about 15 minutes, the business owner said, you know, you're right, and took $900 off that. So does there anybody in your audience who could benefit for paying less at the auto mechanic, for paying less with an HVAC, you're building, you're working with a contractor? That's money in your pocket. I will guarantee you, anybody that uses the fundamental principles of snuff in particular, our rules, the tenets, and some of the other elements, a dollar in your hand is worth much more than a dollar, because you're transforming that knowledge into a tangible outcome, which, you know, from a transactional standpoint is dollars and cents. But how about the idea of a relationship? You're in a relationship, and the person, as a matter of fact, I have some very close to me who just had their heart broken in a relationship. Well, there were many signs about where that was going to go from the beginning of the relationship. But if you're leading with your heart, it is only after you have made those mistakes and not thought about um, the quantitative elements of relationship that you end up in a place where someone else could see that's the only direction it can go in. So yeah, relationships, you unbelievably, especially when you're talking about the internet. So quick story. My partner in life was somebody. I saw a picture. I saw the beautiful woman, beautiful smile. And I said, you know what? I want to meet this woman to find out if that smile is the person. And of course, I contacted her and said, I'm not interested. Not interested. I go, oh, okay. Now I'm interested because wait a minute, we're negotiating here. So at the end of the day, I pursued her. We had lunch. At the end of the lunch, she said, well, this was fun, but you know, we have nothing in common. And I said, really? And we talked for a few more minutes, and we got up from the table and we walked out of the restaurant. And when we got to her parked car, I said, yes, well, that's unfortunate. And I turned to walk away. She grabbed my arm, turned me around, and passionately kissed me. So I didn't call her for 2 days. Now she was interested. And that was almost 15 years ago. This woman is out of my league. She's more beautiful. She's smarter. She's brilliant. She's all the things somebody would say. You could never get a relationship like that. Every bit of that was a negotiation. Matters of the heart, matters of the wallet, matters of life itself. It's all a negotiation, or at least you can apply negotiation tactics and strategies to the resolution.
Yeah, every single day. You're doesn't matter what you think you're doing. You're negotiating with
Yes.
basically most people you talk to. So, absolutely, I love that story. So there's a menu of options out there. Everybody, it doesn't matter what you do. There's a million other people that offer it. So when you look at the whole marketplace and you out there, why you? What sets you apart from literally everybody else doing something similar?
That's such a great question. And I would say that the answer is the through line and arc of my career. There is nobody else out there that spent 15 years on the road with the most influential negotiation guru on planet Earth, and then going all the way around the world, every state in the United States, every province in Canada, Mexico, Europe, and all over the world, negotiating, teaching, learning, studying, and practicing. And then to go from that and have another almost 15 years of developing a brand new negotiation framework. So when you look at the breadth of that experience, and I've worked in so many different areas with an eye toward creating SNUF, which was an universally applicable negotiation framework. Every other major negotiation framework has flaws in it and vulnerabilities in it that you will never see if you don't read involved. And that includes getting to yes. The BATNA has huge vulnerabilities. That includes never split the difference, which makes no sense whatsoever from a SNUF position. And I'll tell you very quickly why. And that's a number one best-selling book, and it's got a lot of great things. But let me tell you what nobody else will tell you. Never split the difference is a dumb idea to teach people. Why is that? Because if I teach you to never do something, I have simultaneously taught you to fail in any situation where the thing I taught you never to do is the only option for a resolution. Why would I teach you that? So I don't. SNUF will teach you when to split the difference, who to split the difference with, why to split the difference, how do you protect yourself while you're looking and exploring the options, and therefore you're going to avoid grief. You're going to increase the outcome, and often that outcome is going to be something well beyond what you thought was possible. So I think it's the breadth of experience, but also I will stand on the idea that SNUF is the most innovative negotiation framework in at least the last 60 or 70 years, and bar none.
When we're talking about, negotiation or just basic, dealing with people, there's so many avenues we could go down. We could spend so much time talking about this stuff, but just overall in general, is there anything that I missed or failed to ask that you wanted to add?
Well, no, I think one of the things I love about you, Anthony, is that you're so natural and curious and interested, and you have an incredible breadth of experience. So you bring that to these interviews. But no, I think that we've covered a lot of the important elements, the difference between what I do versus other people do. I would simply say this: don't believe a word you hear me say. Don't believe any of it, but don't discount it simply because you disagree or don't understand it. What I would say is do the work, take it as a challenge, and then prove to me that what I'm sharing with you is not successful. And another thing to do that I'd like to say is we have a 30-minute, no cost, no obligation a call. Go on the website and book the call. You're not going to talk to an assistant. I'm going to talk with you. So if you've got a question, right during that 30-minute time, I will be able to take you through some fundamental steps and provide you with a specific action plan that you can initiate and evaluate to see if it was any good for you. Because the best way for me to sell you is for you to sell yourself by virtue of the result that you got. And then if you want to talk about how we got there or how to get there consistently, then we can have that conversation. So I would invite all of your guests to take advantage of that.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate the kind words, and you're doing awesome things. For the people that want to get a hold of you, is that the best way they reach you on the website, or are there other avenues to find you or hear more from you?
Sure. The first thing, if you want to look at different podcasts or articles and that, just go on the internet, type in my name, and many of that will come up. But I really would invite people to go to our website where you can see some specifics under the negotiation training. Look for your business sector, whether you're an individual, finance, whatever it is, and then go to that page and you'll see specifically where SNUF is applicable to what you're doing. But also, I really want to encourage people to go to Amazon and consider picking up a copy of Evolve or Be Slaughtered, and then call me about it and let's talk.
Perfect. If anybody would like to get a hold of Derrick, do it. Right? I'm going to put all that in the show notes, so it's super easy to find. You're going to be better off just day to day being able to negotiate better, understand the fundamentals on how people communicate. There's been so many books, there's been so much out there about how to talk with people, get to know people, negotiate with people. Start learning that. It's going to help you in life and business and all the stuff and love. So absolutely reach out, have that conversation. Derrick's the exact same in a one-to-one as he is here. He's a wealth of knowledge. Leverage that, and then after you read the book, put it to practice. Right? It's not going to do you any good.
Yes.
If you watch a video on how to do push-ups and then you never do a push-up, you're not going to get any better at push-ups. You'll know how to do them, but you won't do them. So
Right.
absolutely do that. Other than that, if anybody would like to get a hold of me, you can find me at ikag.me. You can find more episodes, subscribe to our newsletter, and connect with our growing community of awesome people like Derrick. If you or somebody would like to be interviewed, you can also apply on the website. But Derrick, I really appreciate you taking the time. There's so much here. And there were so many nuggets and everything that you shared that I'm gonna have to go back and listen to myself and take notes.
Well,
So
great. You know what? It's joyful to spend time with you. I loved meeting you, and I love the show. And I would encourage people to take a look. There's all kinds of different guests that you have on specific topics, and the one thing that they have in common is a passion, because you reflect that, and then you bring that to the show. So it's a privilege for me, and I very much look forward to talking to you again at some point in the future.
well, I appreciate that. I couldn't say it better. So let's all go have an awesome day and grow our circle. All right.
Yeah, absolutely.